I started making from when I was very young. It was quite the norm to knock up a few skirts and loons back in the 70s. I think that the Great British Sewing Bee on TV ignited a lot of interest, particularly among older people who dusted off their sewing machines and gave it a new airing.
I made an apron with my mum for the first time on her sewing machine when I was 7. I picked it up again when the girls were little, making dresses for them. I've had phases over the years of not doing it and then doing it, but the last year I've done it a lot, mainly because I gave up my full-time job. I was suddenly relaxed and just love knitting, sewing, crochet, all that kind of thing.
I was taught to knit by my mother when I was quite small. My mother's family are Polish. People say that I knit funny, so I don't know whether this is kind of a Central European way of knitting, where I kind of drop my knitting. So I've done that for years, and when I was little I used to knit clothes for my Cindy dolls and baby clothes and that kind of thing. I learnt to crochet myself, that was when I was probably in my mid-teens.
I've always had an element of reusing, recycling, wearing vintage garments that belong to my mother, even my grandmother, and then passing that on to my children. I've got a skirt that a friend gave me as a child, secondhand. I've worn it, loved it, reworked it into garments for my own children. So it's about thinking about my own personal impact, really. And because I love doing that anyway, making, remaking, it kind of comes naturally.
I've always reused things that my family have had, but I really have got an issue about going to a charity shop and actually buying something that somebody else has worn. And I think that's because it's family culture, really. Mum had a lot of hand-me-downs when I was born. I always had new, and so I've got this new culture and not a hand-me-down culture.
My mum always made lots of clothes for us because it's all we could afford at the time. And she was a great sewer, a great knitter and a great designer and that sort of thing. I've always tinkered with it. When I retired, I thought, right, well, I'll get a sewing machine and I'll learn how to sew.
I know of another friend who only came to the very first session. She's now opening a shop selling pre-loved clothes. She was already interested in vintage fashion and vintage interiors. So she was kind of on the track anyway, but then attending the launch event and having an awareness of the project, and other people who, like myself, are also doing the Nothing New for 2018 challenge, that general conversation that was ongoing, that's then where it's led her to open this shop.
I've had lots of people ask me, friends and family, will you show us what you're doing and how to do it? So definitely the ripple effect is starting. One of my sisters, for example, she's very good at dressmaking, following patterns, but she's never tried adapting clothes. And she was saying, if only there was something like these workshops going on in Buckinghamshire, where she lives. And I'm thinking, well, you can do it. You just need to see some examples of what people have done, and that'll trigger all the creativity off.